What's going on, everyone? Welcome to another episode of 100 Yards Football Sports Talk Radio. I'm your host and producer, Logan Landers, and joining me here today to talk about the 2024 Dallas Cowboys weekly report is Jay McLovin from the Elite Sports and Entertainment Network. Jay, how you doing, my friend? And let's get into it. The Cowboys now at 2-2 on the year. You got we'll just say the gutsy 20-15 win over the New York Giants last week. And now y'all are heading to the Steel City this weekend to take on the Pittsburgh Steelers, led by, of course, Justin Fields, and their impressive 3-1 start to the year that I personally didn't see coming, at least not with Fields under center. We all thought it was going to be Russell Wilson, but they have Mike Tomlin and company. They found a way to do it, Jay. So what were your thoughts on last week's win over the Giants, and what do you expect this upcoming weekend?
Yeah, we'll touch real briefly on the Giants. You know, the Giants are the Giants, right? I mean, I don't put a lot of weight into that as of yet. I mean, they are the bottom of the barrel team right now, even though they are showing some signs of getting better. I think Daniel Jones is showing some signs of getting better. But in all honesty, that was a game that if we didn't win against the Giants, Logan, I was going to stop watching and
you're
bring it
pressing
back
the
up
buttons
next year. I was just going to be done with it because I was like, if we can't even beat the Giants, there's no sense watching anymore. You know, I felt we ran the ball, we threw the ball, our defense was good. But again, I keep things in perspective. This is the New York Giants, and it's not like they have a ton of talented players over there yet. I mean, they're working on it, right? But they don't have a ton. So I take that. I mean, outside of neighbors, you know, I really take the Giants with a grain of salt. So with that being said, I felt like we handled business where we were supposed to handle business. The problem is, can we handle business against a team like the Steelers? I want to transition a little bit into the Steelers. Yep. This is the team that, you know, in all intents and purposes, like you said, at quarterback, you know, it was a little bit unknown coming into the season. Could Fields be salvaged? Could his career be turned around? Well, it looks like, you know, he's on the path of just now doing that. So this is really the game, Logan, not so much the Giants. I mean, those are the teams we're supposed to beat. The Steelers team, the ones that are 3-1 or 500 or better, you know, really even the ones that are like one game loss or better, those are the teams that I really start to look at the Cowboys for what we really are, right? And I think we've seen, for the most part, clearly we have a problem stopping the run. Clearly we have a tough time establishing the run. Clearly there's a problem with player execution. Clearly there's a problem with penalties and everything else. So these are the games where I want to see if we can improve upon, and this kind of is the start of that process. You got a 2-2 Cowboys going against, like you said, a 3-1 Steelers. It is a 7:20 evening game tonight on NBC and or Peacock. But yeah, let's look at the Steelers. The Steelers are a tough defense on the run. They're right now, I think, in the world of fantasy, they're ranked number 7. Obviously, you saw last week the Steelers had a really tough time stopping the run and stopping the pass, and then they got handled pretty well. So I'm wondering if the Steelers, if this is going to be their bounce back game against a Cowboys team that struggles to stop the pass on the left side, struggles to come over the top with the safeties, struggles to establish the run, struggles to stop the run. You know, this Steelers team, I think, you know, in all intents and purposes, you know, Najee Harris and Warren and Pickens and company and Freemuth should be able to bounce back against this Cowboys. Now, can the Cowboys stop that? And that's what I want to talk about. We know how tough the Steelers defense and how it's done is, but when you look at Fields, let's start there. When you look at Fields, he's 77 for 109, 830 yards, 3 touchdowns, 1 interception on the season. When you look at Harris, he's 68 for 228. He's averaging 3.35, so that's not exactly impressive on his part. The question is, can Dallas this week capitalize on that 3.35 and actually stop and contain him? Can they pressure Fields? We all know that the Cowboys have struggled in pass rushing. We know that that's an issue for the Cowboys. Now, when you look at, and not to mention, let's look at the compounded issue. This week, DeMarcus Lawrence is out. Yep. He's on the IR at this point, so you're not going to see him for a hot minute. You look at Parsons. Parsons is doubtful, and Carson, the cornerback Carson, which honestly Carson really doesn't bother me too much because he's a weak ass cornerback anyway. I mean, they're just throwing on him all day long. So, but he's questionable. So Parsons is doubtful. Lawrence is on the IR. Carson is questionable. They got some already injuries on that defense. that are well established, which is going to hurt them. And I think make things maybe even a little bit easier for Justin Fields. I don't think we're going to be able to pressure Justin Fields, to be quite honest with you. And I think that's going to be our Achilles heel in this game. Wide receiver Cooks is out with the knee issue. So now you're down a wide receiver. Now all the weight falls on CeeDee Lamb or Ferguson. So it is what it is. Tolbert, Turpin, these are guys that are going to have to step up and come out of that number 3 and 4 wide receiver spot and actually contribute towards this team. So those are guys I'm looking forward to seeing what they do. Play calling, player execution is essential for beating the Steelers. And none of that have we really truly seen this season. So can that actually occur? Dallas is 2-3 over the last 5. That kind of just tells you all you need to know right there, Logan. When you look at the scoring, and I'm going to wrap up with this. When you look at the scoring for Dallas, we score 24.3, but our defense gives up 26 points. So you already know automatically we're in the hole coming into this thing. Total points, we're at 97. The opponent is at 104. Again, more clarification why we're in the hole. When you look at touchdowns, Dallas is at 9. The opponents are at 12. When you look at the rush on first downs, we get 19. Our opponent gets 40. When you look at rushing touchdowns or rushing yardage, it should be rushing yardage, we're at 301. Our opponent's at 583. And the one thing I didn't put on here, but I already can tell you is we also are losing the time of possession. Our time of possession is about 10 minutes less than our opponent. So, Logan, the issue is more or less the defense, which we all know the Cowboys' weakness is defense. And it shows in every damn statistical category. And the problem is because our defense is so bad, it's really hindering what our offense can do because they're not on the field nearly enough. So that's really the honest, true 100% from a Cowboys fan, player and team evaluation. I got to be honest with you, because of our injuries on defense and Cook being out and things of that nature, I'm going to go with Steelers in this game, honestly.
When I look at this game, Jay, like you said, the injuries couldn't have happened at, I don't know if you'd say a worse time because it is early in the season. But you never want your guys to be out, especially your heavy hitters. Obviously, you mentioned Cooks is going to be out on offense. And then for your defense, you're losing 2 big guys in Parsons and DeMarcus Lawrence. So that's not what you want. That is not what you want early in the year. Lawrence is on the IR, as you said, so he'll be out for a handful of weeks. Parsons is listed as doubtful, so he might not be out as long, but it doesn't seem likely that he will play in this game. Now, Pittsburgh, something interesting about them on the injured front, though, Jay, is that Najee Harris did not participate in practice due to a knee injury. He is questionable, but if he's not able to go, then what is that going to do for your running game? Well, that gives you Justin Fields, obviously, who's the quarterback. But other than that, you have the veteran in Cordell Patterson. You also have Aaron Shamklin. That would be pretty much a one-dimensional offense in this point in time. Patterson, he's a vet, but he's not going to be able to get a ton of carries, just because he's went through so much. He's a veteran. He's played a lot of games. I'm not expecting him to have a heavy workload when I can just give it to Najee, who's a younger player. So that could be something to watch out for. It's not official at the time of this recording. Rest of your team, last week, Jay, I feel that if the game between Pittsburgh and Indianapolis went another 5 or 10 minutes, I think Pittsburgh might have had them. It was just a case of too little, too late. They came out the gates cold. They fell behind 17-3 at halftime, and they were able to fight their way back and ultimately lose only by 3 points at the end, scoring 14 points in the fourth quarter. So you'd like to see that they made a strong onslaught towards the end of the game, but as I said, just a little bit too late, and that ended their undefeated run on the year. Hats off to the Colts and another veteran, Joe Flacco, doing it out there. But looking at this ball game, though, like you said, it's going to be on the road. And my God, we know Pittsburgh fans are some of the rowdiest out there in the National Football League, and we know they don't like the Cowboys, Jay. We know that very much. So it's going to be an interesting matchup between Dak Prescott, who is very hyped up, who just got the Brinks truck backed up to his location, and then you have Justin Fields, who's someone who before the season people were kind of starting to write off. It seemed. Saying, he couldn't get it done in Chicago, that, it was his play. That was the issue, Jay, right? That It was him. It wasn't the coaching. It wasn't the other personnel. It was him and only him. But we see this season, Jay, with Justin Fields, when you look at the numbers, he's been sacked 10 times, but when you look at the rest of his, or how his career was back when he was in Chicago with the Bears and just how that kind of stacks up, I mean, he was sacked 44 times last year, 55 in 22, 36 in 21. So doing a lot better so far throughout a couple of games. And the thing that I like about Justin this year, as opposed to years past, is he seems to be letting the game come to him as opposed to playing hero ball. And I say that, Jay, because he's making the smart reads. He's only got 1 interception so far on the season, 3 touchdowns. But what I like to look at, though, is his completion percentage, Jay, 70%. I don't care if that's checkdowns. I don't care if that's curl routes. I don't care if that's medium routes. I don't care if that's a long bomb. That's still 7 out of 10 times you are completing what you're throwing to your receivers. So that's hats off to him, and that's also hats off to his receivers like George Pickens, Pat Freiermuth, the tight end, for hauling those catches in. But I think the key for this game, Jay, will be the defense of the Pittsburgh Steelers, right, with Elliott, Fitzpatrick, Patrick Queen, Cam Hayward, of course, TJ Watt. They have a stacked defense. There is no question about that. Like I said, I get they lost last week. Only gave up, 27 points isn't minuscule, but it's also not the worst we've ever seen. We've seen teams who can give up 27 and still win. And like I said, I think Pittsburgh was right on the doorstep last week, just a little bit too late. But other than that, Jay, they have been very dominant on defense. Only allowed 10 points against Los Angeles, 6 against Denver. And then, as we know, they beat the Falcons a week one, only give up 10 points there. So I think the Pittsburgh defense is going to be the deciding factor in this ball game. That's why I'm going to give them the edge in this one. And that's why I think they will improve to 4-1 on the year, Jay. And unfortunately, I think that will drop Dallas back below 500 to a record of 2-3. Even though I will say they are undefeated on the road this year at 2-0, I think this will be their first loss on the away front. So it's going to be interesting to see. But we want to hear your thoughts, though, in the comments. Who's going to win this ball game? Will it be the Pittsburgh Steelers or will it be the Dallas Cowboys? And if you have any other thoughts about the Cowboys, if you want to get something off your chest, you want to vent to us, you're more than welcome to in our comments on Facebook as well as on YouTube. Well, for Jay McLovin from the Elite Sports and Entertainment Network, I've been your host and producer, Logan Landers, guys. Until next time, go out there and watch some Cowboys football, and we'll talk to you again on